Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be showing you how easy it is to make my amazing dark chocolate chip cookies. The prep for this only takes 15 minutes, which is fab, and it's something you could do the night before and then cook with your kids the next day or even the following days after that, because once the dough is done and set, it can be kept in the fridge for 5 days and then you can bake it at any time during those next 5 days. So let's get to it. The first thing that we need is to soften our butter. And I've just done this in the microwave, literally 10 seconds at a time. You want it to be still quite a thick consistency, but no lumps. I will say as well that I've done this recipe with cups rather than using a measurer in grams. The reason for that was because with a toddler in tow, I don't often have that much of a chance to stand there and weigh out everything unless I'm doing something special like a cake. If I really fancy some cookies, I know I can whip this up in 15-20 minutes while he's having a nap, and yeah, that's the best way to do it, is use mugs. So I've got one mug here, they're identical size, which is always a good thing to do, and softened butter in that one, and this is the one I'm going to use for my dry ingredients like sugar and salt and flour. So first thing that we want to do is get a bowl. You're going to need a sieve in a moment for the flour, and the other thing that you need to do as well is have your egg out of the fridge. If you keep them in the fridge, leave it out for a few minutes so that it's not really cold, because when you've softened your butter up, it can be a little bit warm, and what you don't want to end up with is scrambled eggs. So one of the main things is let this egg come up to room temperature. I will just quickly run through the other ingredients that I've got here. So you've got your softened butter, you've got your egg, you've got baking powder and vanilla. I use dairy-free butter, by the way. My son is dairy intolerant, so... Oh, excuse my washing machine. Mum life, hey, gotta keep up. I've got some light soft sugar, brown sugar, and I've also got some caster sugar. You're gonna want a bit of both. I'll go through that in a minute. You're gonna need a tiny bit of salt, plain flour, and dark chocolate chips. These are Aldi's. They're really nice, and they don't have any milk in either. So that's one of the reasons why I get them from Aldi. You'd be surprised how many plain and dark chocolates still have milk solids and whey powder and things like that, and my son just can't have it. So have to shop around a bit, and especially now during the pandemic, it's quite hard to get some things. I have been able to get sugar and things the last month or so. For quite a while there, I couldn't get any caster sugar, so it was touch and go for the cookies for a bit. And to be honest, I prefer making these than buying them in the supermarket. It might sound quite big-headed. I'm not being big-headed, but now that I've got this recipe and it works for me and I love the taste of them, I wouldn't buy cookies. I did a few weeks ago, and they just weren't the same. They weren't that good. I really think if you have the time to bake, then you should do it, because you know exactly what's going into them as well. And like I say, I make mine dairy free, and I know that they're dairy free that way. So let's crack on. We've got our bowl and we've got our egg. We're going to need sugar. And the best thing to do as well is just squeeze it a little bit, make sure there aren't any really big lumps. And you need an entire cup of sugar, but it's made up as 2/3 brown and then 1/3 white. So I tend to do my brown first. Probably should have measured this out before, guys. Sorry. If you want to bake along with me, then please do. My recipe is on my blog. If you type in cookies on the search bar at the top, I think it might even be the first one, Sabrina's dark chocolate chip cookies. The reason I use soft brown sugar as well, I find it gives the cookies a lovely sweet and golden texture as well, which is what you want for cookies really. You don't want them to be too pale, and you find sometimes people over bake cookies because they think that they need to look golden. You won't really get them that golden unless you're going to be using some sort of brown sugar to help that colouring. Right, so give that a shake. We can see that we've got 3/4, well 2/3, it's supposed to be 2/3 of that one, and then we've got this caster sugar again, trying to get some of the little lumps out, and then you want to top up the rest of your mug with the caster sugar. There we go. You can use the sieve just to get out any lumps, and don't put that mug anywhere because we need it again in a moment for doing the flour. Okay guys, now what you need to do is mix in your softened spread. You want the whole lot in. As you can see, it's quite smooth, but it's not warm. Best thing to do is microwave it 10 seconds at a time, make it soft, keep stirring it, and then let it sit at room temperature for a few minutes while you measure out the other ingredients. Try and get as much out of the mug as you possibly can. Butter's one of those things that's really messy. Okay, what you want to do now is mix it all up. You don't need that mug any longer, so we'll get rid of that one. And you want to mix this up. It needs to be a smooth consistency, which I will show you in a moment. It does take a little bit of elbow grease. If you want to use a mixer, you can, you know, like a hand mixer, but honestly, it's so easy to do. You just need a good sort of 60 seconds, 90 seconds mixing this in, get all the sugar and the butter combined, and then you will end up with a smooth consistency. Okay. Okay. Next thing you want is the egg. And again, make sure that is mixed in really well. Don't worry about how wet it's looking now, because once we put that flour in, it's going to be a perfect dough. Okay, it'll be much wetter now, but again, it'll be a lovely golden colour. And now what we want to do is salt and vanilla. So we want just half a teaspoon of salt, not heaped, just half of a spoon. And you want 1 teaspoonful of vanilla and 1 teaspoon of your baking powder, which is difficult to open. Oh, there we go. Just going to grab a different spoon, guys. Slightly heaped, but not a huge amount, and I tend to just drizzle that in before I mix it. You can put it through the sieve if yours has been stood in the cupboard for a while. And a teaspoon of vanilla, or to your taste. I like quite a lot in mine. Smells so nice. Right. Best thing to do is as well, guys, once you've used your ingredients, move them out of the way, just to one side, just so you think, oh, did I put that in or not? That's always a good idea. Right, so the mug that we used earlier for the sugar, we're going to need now for the plain flour. And to save making a mess, I tend to spoon this out like this. And always remember to just shake it or bang it slightly so that you can get all the air out. You want to make sure that you definitely get 1.5 cups, okay guys? 1.5 cups of plain flour. It seems like such a lot when you're measuring it. A little bit more. There we go, so that's 1 cup. And get my sieve back. And like I said, you're only really sieving it just to make sure that there are no lumps. So that's the first one, and then we want another 1/2 mug. I think I've got just enough flour in my jar. I use plain flour the most. I make chocolate brownies with plain flour, cookies with plain flour. So there we have it, guys. That's all your ingredients done. I don't trust myself. If I don't shut my flour, it'll end up everywhere. There's only one last ingredient, which is the chocolate chips. And you guys know that you can put anything in these, right? You don't have to put chocolate chips. You could put, well, you could do triple chocolate. You don't have to do chocolate. You could do nuts. My son is still testing for certain allergies, so I don't tend to put nuts in things. But you can put nuts in them. You can have chocolate and nut. You could have dried fruit. What else could you have? You could even do Smarties or M&Ms or something like that. But when you're baking these cookies, you'll have to make sure that you watch them carefully if there's anything sticking out on the top, because you wouldn't want them to burn. Right, so let's get this flour going. Best thing to do as well when you're doing cookies is stir a bit at a time, so you don't end up with loads of flour spraying up into the air when you're starting to mix it if you put it all in, and 2, it helps keep it smooth. You're combining the ingredients bit by bit, so as you can see, this is still really, really gloopy, but we want it to be, what's the word I'm looking for, like, not pourable because it's going to be a dough, but you want it to be malleable. That's the word, malleable. so that you can make it into the cookie shapes easily. Like I said, this whole prep takes about 15-20 minutes, and then I'll show you what I do with the dough. And then you leave it until you're ready to bake. I'm going to bake these tomorrow, so it'll be about 24 hours in the fridge. You can have lots of fun with these guys. I'm going to make a trial run of Halloween shaped cookies, so that is what I'm going to do tomorrow with these. You can follow this recipe and bake with me tomorrow if you like. Again, put a bit of elbow grease in. You can get your kids to help you with the mixing part, that's always fun, and I'm sure they'll love making shapes. Decorating your cookies. So let me just show you this now, it's getting thicker. We're about halfway through the flour. Just going to try and shake a bit more in, which is always good. Always remember, like me guys, if you've got long hair, make sure you tie it back. Definitely don't want no hair in your cookies. Okay, so you can really see it's starting to thicken up now, but it's still lovely and smooth, which is what you want. When you're mixing, lift from the bottom and fold over. I'm not sure if you can see me doing that. Lift from the bottom and fold over the flour that you've currently put on the top, and that way loads of it won't spray up. You don't want dust clouds of flour in your face. Really getting thick now. Just going to try and shape the last bit in here. Just got a few little lumps. Grab your spoon that you used earlier on with the sugar and just force some of these lumps through. Right at the end now. Just going to fold a bit of flour in. There we go. There we go, guys. So we finished with these now, put them in the sink. And I'm just going to show you this. So as you can see, we've stirred as we went, and then we've just got this little bit left. So run your spoon around the edge, turning the bowl as you go. And then you want to do some folding. Fold in all that flour that we've just tipped in at the end, and then you want to really give it some elbow grease. You're looking for it to be smooth, don't worry about any air bubbles. And this is what you should be left with. It's, like I said, very, very smooth, but you can still shape it, and it'll be even better once it's gone through the fridge. So we're now going to move on to what we're going to add in. I, like I said, prefer dark chocolate chips. I'm going to be using these, but you can use absolutely anything you like. And then you want to refrigerate the dough with a cover over it, and then bake tomorrow. Or the next day, or the next day. Sometimes I do a batch like this and I'll do 4 cookies every day for the next 3 days or something. Do you like a lot of chocolate? I like a lot of chocolate. Yes, I did just put the whole bag in. That's 100 grams. That's roughly about the amount of filling you need for these cookies. What you want to do, guys, is you want to mix. Again, keep folding, get those cookies running all the way through, and then you could always add different things tomorrow as well. Okay, and then you're left with your lovely cookie dough. Like I said, you can still see it's moving around. It's still very soft and malleable, which is definitely what you want, because you can then shape your cookies tomorrow. Need to put it in the fridge. I have loads of these Pyrex dishes. I love Pyrex. Anyone who knows me knows I cook a lot and I bake a lot as well. So I find that storing from fridge to freezer and freezer to oven, things like that, these are wonderful. So what we want to do now is we want to pour this cookie dough in here, and as you can see, it is definitely malleable and ready for making cookies. A lot of people say, why do you refrigerate cookie dough? The answer really is quite simple. It makes it crunchier, makes your cookies crunchier after you bake them. A lot of places that do a lot of cookie baking will have it frozen on delivery, and then they will literally just tray it up and bake it. Don't leave any of that dough in that bowl, guys. Get your spoon, just run it round. I wouldn't recommend eating this for anyone who would say, you can lick the spoon. No, I'm not going to lick the spoon. 2 main reasons. One, because your flour is not cooked. So when you eat raw cookie dough, when you can buy raw cookie dough, or cookie dough in general that's in ice creams and things like that, the flour has been pre-baked. So if you want a edible cookie dough, go on my blog. There's a cookie dough where it's baked in the oven. I have a recipe for that. If you want sort of like a cookie dough, sort of tray bake cake type thing, and it's really gooey and moist and yummy. And there you have it, guys. So that is your completed cookie dough, ready to be baked another day. There you go, guys. There's your completed cookie dough. Golden, delicious. It smells like vanilla. I always put my vanilla in It really gives it a really nice taste. And we will come back to this tomorrow. I'm going to put this in the fridge now overnight, and then hopefully you can join me tomorrow where we're going to cook these up into some lovely Halloween shapes. Thank you very much for joining me today. I really hope you have enjoyed this cookie tutorial, and I hope you can join me tomorrow to see what they turn out like. Thanks so much for watching, Seven Wishes fans. See you again soon.